It was the greatest World Cup final ever played, but it'll be remembered for the absolutely bizarre fashion in which it was decided. Two teams, evenly matched. The 50-over game ended in a tie. The super over also ended in a tie. But eventually, England won the World Cup final because they scored more boundaries than their opponent, New Zealand. This is the most bizarre way to decide a contest. Either you declare the contest itself a tie, make both England and New Zealand joint winners of the 2019 World Cup, or you simply find another way, a better, more sensible, a more common sense way to settle and find a winner. You either continue with another super over, or you go on to a third super over if the second one also happens to be a tie, till you get a result. Much like you do in football, where if two teams get to penalties 5-5 each, then they do sudden death. Eventually, one of the two teams has to get the better of the other in the penalties. Or in tennis, and there was an epic Wimbledon final that happened just a few kilometers away from Lord's. Roger Federer and Novak Djokovic, eventually Djokovic winning because he won the final set tiebreaker. Because at the end of the day, what the ICC has done with this bizarre rule is to reward luck over skill. And that is not the essence of sport. That is the complete antithesis of sport. In sport, and this is what sportsmen and women live for, this is what they die for, to ensure that skill always wins over luck. And unfortunately, that's not what happened yesterday at Lord's. But first, let's tell you how this match played out, how England were finally crowned champions of cricket at the home of cricket, the Lord's Cricket Ground. After 50 overs, this was the situation. New Zealand won the toss, batted first, 241 for 8. England, dead, the same figure, 241, but 241 all out. Then the match goes into a super over. England bat first. It was Jos Buttler and Ben Stokes. England make 15 without losing a wicket. And then New Zealand's turn to bat in the super over. It goes to the very final ball where Martin Guptill tries to take a 2. He is run out, as a result of which, yes, it's still tied. They did make 15, but New Zealand lost the game because the number of boundaries that New Zealand made was lesser than the number of boundaries that England made, both in the match, the 50-over match, as well as in the super over combined. New Zealand had just 17 boundaries, 4s and 6s combined. England had 26. And by virtue of this rather bizarre rule by the ICC, a tied match was given to England, was given in England's favour. Listen in to the New Zealand captain, Kane Williamson, and he's got some heart. He's built of something else. He's not human, because after all the twists and turns of that game, and after having been declared the losers of this game, even though they deserve to win this game every bit, he came out, maintained his calm, maintained his composure, so much so he got a standing ovation at the end of the press conference.
When it comes down to a tie, you start looking at every single delivery, don't you? But it was a pretty tough pill to swallow, that when we're looking pretty likely with Trent bowling really, really well. So one of those things. The rules are there, I guess, aren't they? And certainly something you don't consider going into the match, that maybe if we could hit an extra boundary and then tie 2 attempts at winning it, then we'll get across the line. And they didn't think that either. I don't even know what the boundary count was, but obviously we were slightly behind. Yeah, very, very tough to...
Okay, and this has been the top trend on Twitter since the last 24 hours. Since this game got over, ICC rules, and we're running the hashtag unfair ICC rules because it's time to call a spade a spade. This is a bizarre rule to decide a World Cup final by. 01204-434-1895 is our number. You can share your views. The boundaries decider, is it a fair system? Is it a fair metric? Is it time for the ICC to come up with a new tiebreaker rule, lest we have a similar situation 4 years down the line? Joining us here on our Talking Point, Gaurav Kaldra is our group editor sports here at Network 18. He's been our fellow traveller for the last, 45 days now? It's finally come to an end, and how? My God.
Count the IPL also, Zakka. We've been working very hard.
Well, I tell you what, the IPL was no match for the drama of last night, or indeed through the course of these last 6 weeks or so. Kishore Bhimani, veteran sports commentator, is joining us. Suman C. Raman is a sports commentator as well. He's joining us on the broadcast. And Devraj Mukherjee, sports columnist, will be joining us as well. But let me start with you. I mean, I think first, this is a bizarre rule. Yes. I think everybody sort of agrees on that. And it was also at some level doing great disservice to both teams, in a sense. I mean, at the end of the day, if you felt, and I don't agree with this school of thought, that if both England and New Zealand had to be declared joint winners, then so be it. But this is not on. This is completely unacceptable, and I can't wrap my head around it.
You know, Zakka, it's one of those rare occasions where you and I agree about something. So that is the one good thing that's come out of this. However, I think as soon as a 50-over contest, a 50-over game, a one-day international goes into a situation where a super over has to be held, that in itself is wrong, according to me. I don't think.
Why is that?
Because I think a 50-over game is an unfolding narrative over 100 overs.
Yeah.
For that to be decided in a 6-ball hit out, and that too in a World Cup situation, where I think it would have been absolutely fair. We got the greatest World Cup final when the last ball of the 100th over was bowled, and we got joint winners. That's where it should have ended. Now, for this game to have discovered a winner, first, Zakka, they did the bizarre thing of doing a super over.
Yeah.
When the super over ends in a tie, instead of going forward, Zakka, to discover a winner, they actually start going back. So they tell the teams that now we are going to investigate how you've played earlier, not knowing that this is what it will culminate in. And I've made this analogy throughout the day. I wonder what Kishorda and Suman think about it as well. However, yesterday we had a situation in the Wimbledon final. 12 all in that final set when they went to a tie break, right? At that tie break, had they reached, let's say, 9 all in the tie break, and the rule had been, oh, now we are going to look at how many aces either of you have served because we've got to stop the game, that would have been ridiculous. No. Had that tie break gone to 35 to 33, 47 to 45, they would have still kept playing. So either keep playing another super over or stop it. But the way this has unfolded is farcical, because I believe that New Zealand were not beaten in this game. England are world champions without winning the World Cup final.
Yeah, without actually winning.
What can be more
I mean, this was the New
bizarre
Zealand Herald headline this morning. The Black Caps lose by 0 runs. And it's true. They lost by 0 runs
They've
both
lost
in the 50-over game.
26-17, Zakka. That's the new cricket score. 26 boundaries to 17.
17. No, but here's the thing. I know that, you know, every sport, Sumant Raman, has to come to a finite conclusion. Like in football, you go to penalties, and if in the penalties it's 5-5, then you go into the sudden death. And that's fair enough. You want a finality, you want a winner, and you want a loser. And that's okay. If if the super over is the agreed upon format to find a winner and a loser in a cricket game, then continue with it. I mean, the first super over was tight. Go for the second super over.
Yeah, I agree entirely, Zakka. I think the whole thing was so farcical, at least, for something that is at the highest level of the sport. But I think the key point is, I don't think anybody ever foresaw a situation where a super over would also be tight. So they said, okay, if the super over also ends in a tie, we'll have some rule like this because we're never going to use it anyway. Now that it's happened, I think that the ICC will need to review this very, very seriously. But my bigger concern for what happened yesterday was that, clause 19.8, where, England were given one additional run, which they should not have been. In fact, even Simon Toffel has accepted that the umpires made a mistake on that. So had that run been deducted and Adil Rashid been on strike with 4 to win of 2 balls, God only knows what might have happened. New Zealand may have even won the match without a super over. So I think that at multiple levels, the officiating in this tournament has been appalling. I mean, I'm sorry to use the word, but the umpires have been I think possibly it's because DRS allows us to sit and get multi-dimensional views, and we're able to see how wrong they are. But I think that there needs to be a revamp and a serious thinking of what the role of the umpires and officials need to be. We need to make sure that we get it right.
No, I just want the DRS itself is a Pandora's box. I'll get to that, but I just want to refer our viewers to what Sumant is talking about. This was in the final over, Bolt bowling to Stokes. I think it was the fourth delivery of that over. Stokes hits to sort of wideish mid-on. He runs. Guptill gets the ball. Guptill throws. But on the second run, while that there you go. That's the delivery I'm talking about. 9 from 3 is what they wanted. Guptill throws. Stokes is running back for the second. He dives. The ball hits his bat and then runs off to the boundary for a 4. So he gets both the 2 runs that they ran as well as the 4, even though it was inadvertent, and that's why straight away Ben Stokes was apologizing. The rule says he should not have got the extra run. It should not have been 2 plus 4. It should have simply been 1 plus 4 because they hadn't crossed at the time that Guptill threw. The batsman hadn't crossed at the time that Guptill threw. And if they were one run short, then who knows? 4 from 2 and Adil Rashid batting, that's the other important part. Maybe it would have been a different result. Maybe we would have got a definitive result at the end of that 50-over game. Kishore Bhimani, so New Zealand lost the game there once unfairly, and they lost again in the end of the game when it was decided on boundaries. And I agree with Gaurav. I mean, if one 50-over game is over, and then you've decided that the super over is the benchmark to decide that tie, then there's no point going back to the old game.
No, this show is incredible. We are agreeing about things, but Kishore Bhimani
that
should.
game is over. That's the end of the game.
Kishore Bhimani.
You have to have another super over.
Yeah, okay. Zakka, one of the things we must agree on, there are going to be as many opinions as people. My point is, one thing we must agree on is this is a 1 in a million happening. A game ending in a tie is rare enough. Then the super over ending in a tie is even more rare. You combine the two, you take a mathematical evaluation of this. This is a 1 in a million happening. It's not going to happen again. But you are right. Gaurav is right. I agree wholeheartedly. This is no way. Going backwards in time is not the answer. There could have been only one logical solution. By mathematical coincidence, it's 15 runs each. The only way now is to have another super over and may the better man win. And I promise you, it's never likely to happen in the next, not my lifetime, which is not very long, but any lifetime of any person. This will not going to happen again. So, you have a rule. Now, this rule was for everyone to see. I have seen all the replies from ICC. I've talked to London twice today. They have said the rules were very clear. Doesn't a man or the organizers or the players or the captain or the coach read the rules? Said, sure they read the rules, but what a ridiculous rule. You go backwards, you say how many boundaries, how many people were wearing sweaters. If more people were wearing sweaters on one side, then they win. And, you know, how many foreign players were there, you know. Now, this goes to a ridiculous level because how many boundaries they hit. To me, a team that makes 241 without boundaries, with less boundaries, is much more desirable. Today, the New Zealanders played much better cricket.
Absolutely.
They were stealing runs, they were squeezing runs, they were running like demons.
I get it. I agree with you.
Just building on what
I agree with you.
What Kishore is saying, sometimes, you know, rules are formulated with the intention that they will remain in the rule book and they will not need to be used. Implemented. In this case, though, I think because we are making tennis analogies, it's important to think back to what happened at Wimbledon last year. Last year at Wimbledon, Kevin Anderson, who reached the final, won a couple of matches that went on really long. And one of those matches was, I think, 25, 24, 3. By the time he reached the final, he was out of gas. So the final didn't end up being a spectacle. The lesson that the Wimbledon organizers learned there is we can't have this bizarre situation of the 5th set carrying on endlessly. So let's reach a 12-all situation and then have a tiebreak. Now that happened. We reached 12-all in the match yesterday, and it turned out that the tiebreaker decided that. Cricket will learn from this. I'm very sure that this outrage will not fall on deaf ears, and the ICC will understand that A, the super over to decide a 50-over game is nonsense.
I think it's bizarre.
And two, you cannot back time a sporting contest and then arrive at its conclusion. So I think if this stays on the rule books, that's when the ICC should get the heat, not right now.
I agree with Gaurav, and it's one of those rare occasions that we actually agree. The super over is an imported concept. It's a borrowed concept from T20. I mean, this was not how you don't borrow a concept from T20 to settle a one-day international. And I'll explain this in a little more detail in just 1 second. Let me get some callers in. They've been waiting patiently, and then I'll go to Devraj Mukherjee as well. Our first caller is Kanta, calling from Mumbai. Do we have Kanta on the line from Mumbai? All right, we don't. So we'll go to GS Krishnan. Yes, Kanta. Go ahead. Yeah. I can hear you.
Hi,
Go
Zakka.
ahead. Yeah.
Honestly, it was heart-wrenching to see the New Zealand team, what they had to experience. And I think to be declared winners on the premise of the number of boundaries that a team has hit, it's not only ridiculous, it's unfair as well. And I think poor umpiring, I won't say poor, I think it was horrible. Umpiring, that extra run which was given in favor of the English team, all these factors. I mean, honestly, from the very start, people kept saying the entire tournament is rigged because Kevin Peterson went on record to say England team is going to win the cup. And I think, honestly, I mean, being a cricket fan, I sat right until 12:30 to see the match, and it was heart-wrenching to see New Zealand, just being beaten on a very unfair, unfair ground. I think they are the true champions and the cup belongs to them.
All right, the cup belongs to New Zealand. GS Krishnan is our next caller. He's calling us from Jamshedpur. Mr. Krishnan.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening. Yeah, yesterday's match was superb. One of the best ODI we have witnessed, actually. That the cricket has won yesterday, in any case. Yeah, actually, just I want to know. See, these rules are laid on long before, actually. And only after something happening, why these discussions are on. Actually, this discussion should be there before the tournament, first of all. Second thing, I agree most of your panelists that super over can be repeated, like in tennis, tiebreaker, in football also.
Yeah.
You keep on repeat the super over. It can be done because hardly it's a matter of 10 minutes for one super over.
That's right.
And then the actual result will come. Or one more solution is there. If at all super over is tallied, then at least who's the topper in the table, I think he should be given because he has done better than the other team actually.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your call. Vishwanathan is our next caller. He's calling us from Chennai.
Hey, Zakka. Hello, panelists.
Yeah.
So it was a wonderful game of cricket yesterday evening. So a couple of 2 points. One point is the infamous 6 runs that was awarded. I think probably the umpires should have stopped the game. I think probably the third umpire or the match referee could have been consulted. I don't know why it was not done because a game of such magnitude, you cannot just kind of go on the field or on the adrenaline and talk about that. And second thing, the ICC's rule of scoring the number of boundaries, right? It doesn't matter whether I score 100 runs with 25 fours or I take 100 singles.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I score 100.
Yeah.
So the question of having the third rule saying the team that scores the more number of boundaries, you're playing for a World Cup, it has got more than so many billions of audience.
Yeah.
So I think definitely ICC should come up with a report, and I think definitely the umpires should be coached better because I think if they are not coached better, and this is a World Cup that we're talking about.
I think the second part of his suggestion is quite novel. I mean, 100 that's scored using 25 boundaries is an A grade 100, and 100 that's scored by taking 100 singles is a B grade 100. If you were to go by the logic of 26 boundaries England scored and 17 New Zealand, therefore England are world champions. Alex from Ooty is our next caller. Alex.
Yes, sir. Yes. What I would like to say is, the rules that are given, it is not fair at all.
Okay.
See, there is no proper application of mind when the rules were formed. And the countries that are taking up the rules should be educated enough to receive those rules and sign those rules. Point number 2, what I would like to make is, New Zealand had won that match, because the score was 241 for 8 wickets, whereas the other country, England, were all out.
Yeah.
They were all out.
Yeah.
So who has won the match? New Zealand has won that match. There was no necessity to go in for the super over. And by what was the necessity to go in for the super over, for the extra fours?
Okay. All right, fair point. Thank you for your call. Let me go to Devraj Mukherjee, and I've seen this also. A lot of folks talking about this on Twitter. The game was tied in terms of runs. New Zealand 241, England 241, but England were all out, and New Zealand had lost 8 wickets. Now, this is a game of bat and ball. This is a game of batsmen against bowlers. So your skills as a batsman and your skills as a bowler, I mean, whichever of the two sides has the better of both sets of players wins. If that is the bottom line, and if New Zealand have taken fewer wickets and England are all out, shouldn't that be also a barometer? I mean, one of the things I saw on Twitter somebody say was, even in Duckworth-Lewis, to calculate for rain-truncated matches, number of wickets is a factor. Fewer the wickets, more the target. More the wickets, possibly lesser the target. If that's used for Duckworth-Lewis for rain-affected matches, then why wouldn't you use it for a World Cup final?
So, Zakka, it seems all the cricketing wisdom which was earlier with the MCC has now filtered down to the fans. And fantastic point made by the last caller. An excellent point made by you. It's a game of bowlers and batters. So if you assess the work of the batsmen, you also need to concomitantly assess the work of the bowlers. And New Zealand bowlers took 2 more wickets than the English bowlers. Game, set, match. It was over right there. See, the biggest problem with yesterday's match was, the match was absolutely fantastic. It's one of the most dramatic one-day internationals one could have hoped to see. And to see it in the final of the World Cup and to see it played at the Lords was just absolutely fantastic. The problem is, this high drama match was decided, the winner of this high drama match was decided by a rule which seems entirely ridiculous. So it's like falling from the sublime to the ridiculous. There are 3 options that could have been exercised to determine who the winner was. One is what you said, more wickets, England lost more wickets. The other thing is who was higher on the points table, again mentioned by somebody else, or else who beat whom in the league stage. I mean, these are actually far better parameters for deciding who should have won that match. And of course, you have the option of taking a second
super over.
But again,
I don't buy the wickets argument at all.
Why? No. One second, Devraj. Gaurav disagrees. Why?
Because again, you go back.
No. This is before the super over. This is at the end of the 100th over.
Doesn't matter, because at the end of the 100th over, you're determining how many wickets the team batting first lost. So you're determining it by going back in the game. You have to get, in cricket, you have to score 1 extra run to win a game. It doesn't matter by how many wickets. Wickets fall for different reasons.
No, fair enough.
But in
one second, Devraj, 1 second.
If you reach,
one second.
If you reach, you go back and revise the target.
You do that, right? I mean, in Duckworth-Lewis, let's say there are 2 teams batting.
Duckworth-Lewis is only for rain. It has
but in that, the number of wickets is a factor. It is a variable.
It is a variable because the game hasn't reached a conclusion. It's in the middle of the game. The targets are being revised. You are reaching the listen, Devraj, relax. You are reaching a culmination at the end of the 50th over.
Yes.
At the end of the 50th over, let's say New Zealand had scored 240, losing 5 wickets. And England reached 240, losing 9 wickets, but they were 180 for 8. Are they being then chastised for constructing a brilliant last wicket partnership that's taken them to 60? Wickets and runs are scored in the course of a game. This game ended at the 100th over mark with both teams at the same scoreline. Game over.
No, but why is then, 1 second, so since you made this point so elaborately,
49.5
why then is wickets a variable and why is wickets a factor when you calculate revised targets in a rain-affected match?
Because you're calculating resources available. The game's not over,
No,
Zakka.
but it's not like the team that's batting second a predicted rain. They would have calculated. Would have calculated their strategy. Depending on the factors at that point of time, and then the rain comes and changes, and they are being unfairly penalised for losing wickets up front.
No. the losing wickets up front means your capacity to score back end is significantly reduced.
May or may not be.
Correct.
As we saw in the semi-final against India.
So Duckworth-Lewis in many ways is an imperfect system in itself. However, to determine the outcome of a 100-over match, once the 100 overs of that match are completed, Zakka, cannot be on variables such as wickets. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
The fact of the matter is that a certain number, certain number was to get to for England, and they had 10 wickets to do it.
Let me get Sumant on this. I mean, I mean, look, if it's a game of batters versus
Just
bowlers,
one small point.
runs and wickets, if you're using runs as a barometer, and if they're tied on runs, then why can't you use wickets? It seems like a logical argument to me, but
used runs. They've used boundaries.
Sumant,
There's a difference.
I agree.
To decide a normal cricket game.
Let me make a couple of quick points.
Sumant.
First of all, Duckworth-Lewis, as Gaurav pointed out, is an imperfect way. It is far from being perfect, and we have to accept the fact that any time we are reducing the number of overs and revising the target, we are making certain assumptions which sometimes may be right, sometimes will not be right. So therefore, it is far from ideal, but that's what we've got to work with at the moment because the ICC has accepted that. The second very, very important point is that when a game is completed, 100 overs have been completed and both the teams are level, now you have to, as Gaurav says, look forward to something that they do thereafter to try and break the tie.
It's basic.
Or simply make both of them the joint winners.
Correct.
Yesterday, nothing would have been lost had both of them been declared the joint winners. Now, my other point, I think, and I want to make this point again and again.
No.
The analogy between Duckworth-Lewis and DRS. I'll give you an example, Zakka. On DRS, the ball going over the stumps, the height that is calculated, there could be 200 different variations between one wicket and another wicket, which have to be factored in for us to say whether the ball would have gone over the top or not. It cannot be just by the bounce that it actually took or whatever. So again, there is an imperfection. DRS for LBW or whether the ball was hitting the wicket is far from perfect. But we've accepted that with saying that it's better still than the umpire giving the decision.
No, okay.
Now the point is, one point, Zakka, there is a lot of technology which we are very selectively using. We are saying it's okay for there to be errors. Take that famous IPL match where Lasith Malinga bowled a huge no ball, which the umpire missed, and RCB lost the match. Virat Kohli said,
okay, one second. I want to stick to I want to stick to yesterday's game. One second, Debraj, one second. The reason why you should decide, I mean, ideally, you should decide a 50-over game in the course of that 50 overs or 100 overs and not look for a new variable and bring in a new variable. And I think there is some merit in that argument in as much as this. First of all, the super over, like I said, is a borrowed concept. It's a T20 concept that you're then trying to impose to decide a one-day game, which I think is apples and oranges. It's not a fair system. Secondly, the super over, by virtue of the fact that it's come from T20, and T20 we know is a system that gives premium to boundaries. It gives premium to fours and sixes because it's 20 overs. The big hitters are, there's a reason why the big hitters are priced way more than the grafters when the IPL auction happens, right? That's because fours and sixes are given a premium in the T20 format. In the one-day format, as was evidenced in this World Cup, forget about every other tournament, as was seen in this World Cup, there is a greater premium for fellows who can hold together an innings, for fellows who can graft an innings, who can hold the middle together. That's why Kane Williamson was rewarded the man of the series, despite the fact that he was not the highest run scorer in this tournament. He didn't have the highest number of centuries, certainly didn't have the highest number of fours or sixes, but it's his ability to influence a game by holding the middle together. That's why the super over to decide a one-day contest, in my opinion, is apples and oranges. This is my
Couldn't agree more.
My 2 bits.
Can't put it better.
So if you don't have a super over, then how do you decide a 50-over game?
Don't decide it. Yeah. It's decided. The ties.
Everybody wants a winner and a loser.
Zakka.
The idea of a tie
Zakka,
is...
think of it this way. You got, without the super over, the best World Cup final. That last ball created an enormous amount of drama. At the end of it, if Eoin Morgan and Kane Williamson are holding up the World Cup together, well played, guys. You gave us a real spectacle. Now you feel like one team has been cheated out of a World Cup, and I bet you, Zakka, had the rule been the other way around,
which is
wickets instead of boundaries, England would have felt hard done by, and that is why I feel like the two teams contested over 100 overs. Nothing separated them. Joint World Cup winner, guys. Go home, well played.
I am a bit ambivalent again on that, because I think at the essence of sport, and this is for the spectators, this is for everybody who watches, you want to see who is the better team.
How often is it going to happen?
Well, it happened yesterday. Who knows when it's going to happen the next time? I don't know.
Once in a while, once in a lifetime,
I don't think
it happens.
I don't think we expected it. I don't think we expected it to happen yesterday. Maybe it'll happen 4 years from now. Who knows? Anyway, let me get some callers. Sanjay is calling us from Pune. Sanjay, thank you for your patience. Go ahead. Do you feel that the ICC should re-look at this rule of number of boundaries deciding the winner of a match in case of a tie?
Most definitely. I completely agree with you. That should be amended. In fact, there's always one person in the entire circle who messes up everything for everybody. This is like, a negative thumb rule, you can say, in negativity.
Okay.
And ICC has done the same thing. I just hope that BCCI has some people, some level-headed people who do not kill the morale of our boys when they meet up or when they go back home, because looking at the future matches,
okay,
they need their morale to be boosted up.
Okay, thank you for your call. Let me go across to Dr. Ramurthy from Hyderabad. I think he'll be our last caller tonight. Dr. Ramurthy.
Yeah, my question is to Gaurav and the senior journalist Kishore Bhimani.
Yeah.
ICC could have come out a better instead of declaring by number of boundaries. They could have said either by going for the toss, which is generally done to decide the innings after the first super over.
Okay.
Or else the bowler should be given a chance to bowl without a batsman, and the number of times he bowled should decide.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your call. I think the second one, we used to have a thing called a bowl-out before, right? There have been bowl-outs before.
That's utterly nonsense.
That's even bizarre.
So that's not it doesn't place a premium on cricket skills at all. I mean, how is it a cricket skill to run up? You remember the 2007 World T20 where there was a bowl-out. The best bowlers from India's team were Sehwag and Robin Uthappa, who were able to roll up and hit the stumps with the keeper standing behind. It's not testing a cricket skill. You don't win a cricket match by testing a non-cricket skill. It's a bizarre... See, Zakka, I think, everyone's missing the trees for the woods when they say what ICC could have done. This was written as the letter of the law, so they had no choice but to go with it this time. The point now is what happens going forward. In the way the lessons were learnt by the All England club and they decided to do something about long fifth sets.
Yeah.
In the same way, since this occurrence has happened, since this event has occurred, what to do about this in the future is the only remaining question. England are the world champions. New Zealand are not. There's no getting around it.
1 second.
Unfortunately,
part of the reason. Listen. Part of the reason, and I'm very certain about this. I'm saying this with a great degree of responsibility. Devraj Mukherjee, if instead of New Zealand, India were in New Zealand's position yesterday.
Yeah,
my
India.
God, this
Exactly
country would have been outraged. My God, we would have been throwing things at the ICC.
We would have erupted. And Zakka, in this slide. Zakka, in this, fantastic.
So,
Zakka, thank you for bringing this up, because I was going to suggest this, that if what happened with Ben Stokes, if Jadeja was aiming at the wicket and Ben Stokes has nudged it for a 4, mind you, if it hadn't reached the boundary, they would have played sportsmanlike and not taken any runs. They didn't have the option of not running because the ball went to the boundary. That having been said, if India lost because of Ben Stokes' inadvertent 4, and all hell would have broken loose. I think in this regard, I think England may have won the World Cup, but the New Zealanders have also come away champions. the way Kane Williamson handled the presser afterwards, the kind of dignity and resolve and reticence with which they accepted the results, I think it's a great thing to learn. I think sports is not always about winning. It's also about learning about how to lose. I think that's the greatest thing that every sportsman who plays sports, every sportswoman who plays sports learns. The grace of losing is as important as the euphoria of winning. And I think New Zealand showed us that. So even in this loss, I think New Zealand came away with a lot of dignity.
Absolutely.
And I'm sorry to say this, but there's something for us to learn also.
Oh, absolutely.
In the way Kane Williamson conducted himself.
Absolutely. I think he's made of something else. I mean, like I said, he's not human.
Yeah.
I mean, for somebody to actually
I think
just
we
be
need
in
to
the
speak
middle
a
of all
word
of
about
that.
Kane Williamson.
Yeah. Be at the receiving end of all of that.
The real hero of this World Cup is Kane Williamson.
Then come and talk about it, not once but
Zakka.
twice.
Yeah.
I think
Zakka.
it's phenomenal.
Yes.
One second, let me get some
Zakka.
callers in, please. 1 second, let me get some callers in. Lenny is calling us from. Lenny is.
On Kane Williamson, please.
1 second, I'll come back to you. Lenny from Mumbai. Lenny, yes. Lenny from Mumbai, are you there? I can hear somebody say something, but anyway, all right, Lenny, I'm sorry. Let me go on to our next caller. K.R. Narayan is calling us from Bangalore. Mr. Narayan.
Yeah. Actually, see, I just yesterday I could watch the match, only after the match was going for when England was batting. I just thought, I will see the match after 45th over.
Okay.
So I just saw the match at the end of 50th over. From that I saw. And whatever you have been discussing now, after the match was over, I was always, telling my office colleagues in the morning, one thing, at least when the match was over after 50th over, they should have shared the thing rather than going in for this super over.
Okay.
Or after the super over got tied, at least they should have announced. The rule that was not announced, to both the teams. I don't think they announced very well in the beginning.
Okay, all right. Thank you for your call. Lenny is calling us from Mumbai. Lenny.
Can't announce it, Zakka.
Hi, Zakka. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you, Lenny. Go ahead, yeah.
Zakka, I love your program and I love the speakers that you have there. But the only problem that I'm very sad about, even though we Indians love cricket, we lost to New Zealand. But I really think New Zealand was the winner in the game because the rules are very, very complicated for a final of any World Cup match. And not only that, the problem is they should have decided according to the best team. And I feel both the teams should have been given the cup to share it for 6 months for half the period each. That is my only suggestion, because there is any decisions you go through, there is no end to it. But the best way to end it is both equal the number of runs, give them both an equal championship.
Okay, thank you, Lenny. Nikhil from Mumbai. Nikhil.
Hi.
Yeah, Nikhil, go ahead.
Hi. So I just want to say this, that the match that we saw yesterday was a wonderful match. But I just believe that the declaration of the winner, this match should have been a tie. Just one point I want to make is, for example, we have so many test matches which get drawn. And to declare the winner of 50-over limited ODI match on the basis of the T20 rule is just not fair. So I feel if in case you want to declare a winner, it should be on the basis of a tie. Because
all right.
Both teams played fantastically.
Okay, thanks for your call, Nikhil. Apurva is our final caller tonight. Apurva also calling us from Mumbai. Is that right, Apurva?
No, I'm calling from Bangalore.
Sorry, from Bangalore. Go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so my question is, it is very sad to see what happened in the final. But my point is, isn't it like the full World Cup journey was kind of very awfully designed, and because weather season, it is raining and all the matches getting washed out, points getting distributed and all. So why ICC took that decision to do this World Cup in rainy season?
Okay.
And after that, again in final, they can have Duckworth-Lewis kind of formula rather than boundaries or something like that.
Okay, thanks for your call, Apurva. Again, I saw this on Twitter, somebody asking, at the moment that the 100th over concluded and they were both 241, what if it started raining incessantly? And it rained on the reserve day as well? Then what? Then they share?
The rule, yes. The rule
so then the skills of the 100 overs doesn't matter.
Yeah, which is
the rule is they would share it.
Yeah, which is that if there is no result at the end of the 2 days
so that's a very
game,
important
then you
point.
share the World Cup. So that would have meant Kane Williamson and Eoin Morgan lifting the tournament in any case. So, so you know, you have. I think Zakka, the other thing that I'm noticing is that because New Zealand were at the wrong end of this result, there seems to be this swarm of appreciation and sort of heartbreak going in that direction. I suspect, Zakka, that if England had suffered the bad end of this result, the sympathy factor wouldn't have been as much because England are not such a favourite team of a lot of people. So I think because it's New Zealand, the nice guys of world cricket, even though they beat India, all of those things, I think it's because New Zealand have suffered at the as the result of this.
I think the opposite is also possible, that if England were at the receiving end, my God, the British press would have been just like our press. They would have gone to town. I mean, the Britain doesn't have a prime minister right now, but I'm sure this issue would have gone right up to the British Parliament. They would have made as much of a noise about it as we would have had we been at the receiving end. But I'll give Kishore Bhimani the final word because I've got to wrap up. Kishore Bhimani, like you said, I don't think any of us is going to see a game like this ever again. But the whole point of rules to decide a cricket game or a tennis match or a football game is to ensure that you plan for any eventuality, you plan for any possibility. Today we know that this is a possibility. Tomorrow, if a similar situation comes up in a World Cup or otherwise, there has to be a better marker, there has to be a better identifier of which is the team that showed the better skills and the better character and the better temperament. What may that be?
No. May I give you an answer to that? Why do we go backwards? Which showed who earlier, what happened? Let us go forward. Let us go in a linear manner. The only way to solve this is declare joint winners. That is one answer. If you want a clear winner, the only other way to do this is to have a 10 over or a 5 over stipulated number of overs to do the tie break. The tie break in 1 over is a joke. It's an all-time joke. You have a 5 over match or a 6 over match. Remember, there's a reserve day. So that gives at least a clear winner. And it gives a clear chance to the teams. But like it has been said in this debate,
5 over is a great idea.
I think it's very clear that this is unfair. Let us... That 5 overs could have been finished yesterday.
Each bowler
could have been finished yesterday. And 5 overs would mean 2 bowlers in...
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Okay,
anyway,
we'll see if...
one bowler each.
Maybe 1 over for each of the bowlers.
Yeah, one over per bowler.
And 1 over for each of the bowlers.
Yeah.
1 over for each bowler.
That would have to take into account that it will take a
1
lot
over
more time.
bowlers.
I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
You're looking at least another hour of cricket if both sides are to play 5 overs each. Okay, we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much, though, for joining us.
Who's going to complain?
Well, people who have to come to office Monday morning, maybe, but that's okay. Thanks very much for this conversation. Hopefully the last World Cup conversation we'll be having, or not. I don't know. We have the team selection coming up end of the week.
You've got to thank the World Cup, Zakka, for giving you such great material for 8 p.m. on Monday.
So much fodder.
Yes.
But like I said, Indian team for West Indies will be selected, I think, later this week. Hopefully that'll pass off event-free, but I suspect that might not be the case. So we'll have Gaurav back and the rest of them.